Hello, everybody. This is Ron Bass with Soar High Personal Development. And with me today are some wonderful people. Brent Atterberry, our marketing guru. Davin Hunley, our producer. Mike Rose, our executive producer. And Dr. Charles Deberry, who has a lot of other titles, but we can get into that later. So, anyway, I want to wish everybody a happy Wednesday. And this is our very first podcast. And today, we are going to be talking about an interesting subject. Charlie's got some ideas that he wants to discuss with everybody about why do people work? I'm not really sure why we're going to talk about that, but this should be very interesting.
Look, we have people, a lot of us anyway, get up every day, and if we have a job or we've created a job or whatever, we work, and a lot of people or most people maybe do that to make money. But
I would hope so.
Not everyone.
This is not like a socialist country where everybody works for free and gets money from the government.
I know, but my question is this: why? What do you think the prevailing reason is that people work? I mean, Brent, why do you think people work? Do you think work because they want to?
I think the majority of people think. I think a lot of people think that way, but they work because they got to pay the bills.
Yeah, you got to pay the bills, right?
Right.
I mean, that was why I got my first job. That's for sure. I didn't have a lot of bills, but I wanted to make money, right? I needed gas money or whatever, but I wanted to make some money. There's an interesting idea. There was a guy about, 50, 60 years ago. Think of your grandpa or your grandpa's grandpa or somewhere in there, depending on how far back you have to go. And he developed, Doug McGregor was his name, and he developed this idea about why people work. And he said one idea is that people really don't want to, but they're just, people basically are lazy. Do you think humans are lazy?
Amen to that. People are basically lazy.
So you think they're born lazy?
I think that environment has a lot to do with it. I think you become who you surround yourself with. If your parents have a great work ethic, like in my case, that's going to pass along. The apple doesn't fall far from that tree.
Yeah, but
But if you come up from another environment where it's not like that, then who knows what's going to happen?
Okay, but maybe you're not born lazy.
Probably not. I think it's a learned trait.
It's probably learned. The idea that, let's just take it. So let's say, okay, we're not born that way, but think back to, you remember when everything was, if you didn't experience, you probably knew parents or grandparents who experienced, everyone worked at a factory, right? And they assembled things. They put one lug nut on the car all day, or they made a part for something that went down the assembly line. And that's what they did for 8 hours a day. And they didn't do that because they wanted to do it. And they may have, at heart, been lazy, I guess, but they knew they had to make money, and so they knew they had to do something. Well, what this book that came out 50 years ago said was that people are lazy because you think they're lazy, and you treat them as if they're lazy. And if you treat them lazy, then they'll act lazy, and so you have to tell them what to do and when to do it and so forth. But he said people really aren't like that. People really want to work, but they want things that go with it. I was trying to think, what do I want with my work? What do you want? What do we want besides money?
Well, you want to be appreciated.
Okay, that makes sense.
You want to feel like that you belong somewhere. You want to feel like you're part of something that's going somewhere, a success story, and you're contributing to that.
I had a guy last week said he was 80 years old. He owns a magazine in Oklahoma, just trying to sell me advertising. And he said he retired when he was about 75, went down to Florida, lived next to his kids. And he said it drove him crazy. And he said his health got bad. He said he had to move back to Oklahoma, get back to work, selling advertising in his magazine again. He said because he thought he was going to die if he didn't. So I don't know if it's because work was a habit for him for so many years, or it kept him alive, gave him a reason to get up in the morning. I'm not sure, but
you have to have a sense of purpose.
He said he would be dead if he didn't come back to work. And
yes.
I kind of laughed about it, but I think that's true. In
Well,
a
the
lot
old
of
saying
cases.
is to retire is to die. You have to stay busy. You have to have something to do. You have to have a reason to get up every day.
Well, and Ron, you just mentioned something that we've generally seen. I think, if you were to research this, it'd bear out, and that is when people retire completely, quit working, so that they can do what? Watch television? I don't know. But there seems to be a quick, rapid deterioration of health and
Yeah,
everything.
and it's been scientifically proved. That's not just like our opinion. That's a fact.
So you work for something, you feel like you're needed or important or something. Well, so that was one side of the idea. One side was the people. You get what the book said was if you treat people like they're lazy, they will act lazy, and if you treat them like and give them some responsibility and so forth, then they'll respond accordingly. But here's something that the company was called TRW. I don't even know what it stands for, but this part that I was working with made parts for oil wells. All right, and they developed they wanted to experiment, so they created a plant, a manufacturing plant, where the workers got to make all the decisions. So the workers decided when they went to work, they decided when they quit, they decided how they got jobs done, and so forth. What do you think of that?
Well, that's like an employee-owned concept where the employees, are running the business.
Sounds like a hot mess to me.
I'm not sure how that plays out.
Did
but,
it fail? Or
Well, you know what's funny is it had a rough start, right? Really rough start, because when it came right down to
the
it,
inmates running the asylum, I'm not sure how that works.
well, people
exactly.
want what at first people said, tell us what to do, right? And they just said, no, here's what we've got to have this many of these made by this date, and so there's 100 of you. That's 10 teams of 10 or whatever. Let's figure out how we're going to do it. And it was horrible. According to
I've
him.
got another theory about why people don't work or don't want to work. I think a lot of it has to do with distractions. I think as you go through life, there's so many distractions, family and relationships and health issues and alcoholism and drug addiction and depression. And I think all these factors play a big role in how people their attitude about wanting to go to work, being able to go to work. I mean, if somebody's got a bad addiction, as an employer, I see it every day that people don't show up, and why aren't they showing up? It's usually one of those three or four things, and that's just the way it is. So I don't think it's always just that who we surround ourselves with. I think sometimes there's other reasons why people don't have a good work ethic, and I think a lot of those can be corrected with proper counseling, proper training. Uh, One of the reasons we're doing this podcast and one of the reasons we're developing Soar High Personal Development is to encourage people and inspire people and help people to overcome their adversities and all the problems that they're going through in life and give them some tools to help them.
I mean, I think that's. I'm glad you brought it up. It's something that's really important in terms of why people do certain things. Work. I mean, by doing this is a form of work, whether you want to call it work or not. And it was your idea, Ron. And did you just run out of stuff to do, or were you just sitting around, didn't have anything to do, and so you decided to work? What was?
Well, I think it's back to what I said earlier today that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So my parents always had my parents had a great work ethic, and I was just following that line. And along those lines, not to use a pun, my parents played a huge role and continue to play a huge role in my life's successes. One of the reasons that I decided to put together Soar High Personal Development is as a tribute to my parents. They were so gracious and so helpful to me early in my career, not just financially, but as friends, and to encourage me not to give up on my dreams and my goals when so many other people were saying, hey, that's a bad idea, or hey, you shouldn't do this, and hey, you're stupid, that's not going to work. But they always would keep me on the track. I remember one story where one time my telephone was shut off, and So at that point, literally, my company was dead. I didn't have any way to reach the public to do business, and my mother at that time was actually hospitalized as she was getting older. She would fall and have issues, and I went to the hospital to see her, and she was so gracious. She said, "Honey, don't worry. Here's a certain amount of money. You can take this money and you can put an ad in the local newspaper, and you can get a new phone number and start advertising again." And she just wasn't about letting me give up. And so that's just one of many, many stories over the course of time that we'll be sharing with you to give you some hope that there's no reason to ever quit or give up. So Soar High Personal Development is going to have very different forms going forward to be able to help you and encourage you, particularly you, meaning somebody out there that's listening today that's struggling with some sort of adversity, whether it's depression, whether it's your fear of failing, whether it's you don't want to give up, but you wanted to give up on your business, whatever goals that you have that you're not feeling good about, we hope to be able to help you to move forward. So live events is going to be part of our menu in the future. Well, we're going to bring in successful people and speak to you in a live forum. In addition to that, we'll be doing live events where we will be bringing in other people that sharing their successes with you as well. And we'll be doing downloads, video downloads, audio downloads. Dr. Deberry and I are going to be writing a book in the future, so we'll have an audio book as well as a physical book. Dr. Deberry will be doing seminars, and all these different forums that we'll be sharing with the public, we'll be announcing as we go along through our website, through our Facebook page, and of course through our podcast.
Ron, I think that's what you said about how wonderful it was to have the encouragement as you were, as you're living your life,
Yes.
have encouragement from family to do this sort of thing. But I think about, I was fortunate in that way also, but I think of so many people who aren't fortunate and who didn't have that kind of encouragement. And if a person is struggling with why am I working, why am I getting up and doing fries all day for McDonald's, and they have a lot of other issues, and so we're going to talk about that and so many things that you've mentioned as we go forward. So I just wanted to back to again why people work on this in terms of what we're trying to address here for a moment. Why people work? It seems that people. If you Google this and ask that question, you're going to find things like people they want they want some money, but they also want to feel like they're doing something worthwhile, and they have some responsibility, and they have some freedom and respect and so forth. So I think we'll look at probably entrepreneurship, because an entrepreneur gets to do a lot of those things.
If I could interject something here, Dr. Deberry had to straighten me out on that word. It's spelled E-N, but it's pronounced on, because he said because it's French. So I wrote it down phonetically. So I put A-N on, and then entrepreneur, like manure, and with a hyphen over that part of it, so I could correctly pronounce it. Anyway, thank you for that, sir.
You're welcome. So next week we'll discuss entrepreneurship and where it goes.
Great. Well, Charlie, I guess that's about it for today. We don't want to bore anybody too much more. Let me close by saying I really appreciate you being with me today on this launch of our concept, and I want to thank Brent again, and Davin and Mike for being here and helping as well. And going forward, we're going to be talking about like you said, entrepreneurship on the next podcast. So everybody, I appreciate you listening, and have a great day.